Julie, first of all, I want to thank you for that beautiful, beautiful note that you left me when you left Salem, and also for arranging the interview we had recently with the Secretary of Education, McMahon.
Yes, she is excellent, and so are you. So that was a fantastic interview.
So, Julie, talk to me about this investigation of alleged FURPA violations. First of all, explain what FURPA is.
Sure. So FURPA is a parental rights law, which essentially gives parents the right to inspect their children's educational records. So think about this. There are a lot of laws in many states that if a child has a headache and needs Advil, a teacher or a counselor would need to ask for parental permission in order to administer that Advil. We now enter a different territory here in California when it comes to one's gender identity. Now, Larry, maybe if you had been elected governor, we wouldn't be seeing some of this happen. But Governor Gavin Newsom signed this law into effect on January 1st of this year, which essentially prohibits school personnel from disclosing a child's gender identity to that child's parent. So again, if a child needs an Advil in California and many other states, you would call the parent. But are you telling me that if a child is going by different pronouns or has a so-called, gender transition, the parent would not be notified of such a change? So the Department of Education is investigating this. We're investigating the California Department of Education. We're also investigating the Washington State Superintendent's Office and the Maine Department of Education over similar alleged infractions. But the bottom line, Larry, is that Secretary McMahon and President Trump have been clear that children do not belong to the government. Children belong to parents, and they have to know this critical information about their child.
Julie, what happens if a teacher decides that he or she wants to inform the parent that a child all of a sudden wants to be called by a different pronoun? What would happen to a teacher who did that?
Well, I'm not sure what would happen as far as, potential consequences, but the law here, AB 1955, if people want to look it up, it says that pupils have a constitutional right to privacy when it comes to sensitive information about them. And it also condemns, quote, policies that forcibly out pupils without their consent. So perhaps in California, there would be retaliation against that teacher if that teacher were to violate this law. But again, this is what our department is investigating right now, and that investigation is ongoing.
I want to talk to you, Julie, about the exchange that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, had with Charlie Kirk when they were talking about biological men competing against biological women. Number 29.
So you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, right. that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate
but would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
Julie, there was a bill that was proposed by a Republican. As you know, the politics in California are such that Democrats have supermajorities in the Senate and in the Assembly, so the bill never even got out of committee, but it would have prevented biological men from competing against biological women. Gavin Newsom never gave any vocal support for it, and when he was asked about it, he danced around a word salad worthy of Kamala Harris.
Totally. I mean, I know that as a Californian, I was listening to that exchange and just rolling my eyes. And, our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, called Governor Gavin Newsom out on this. On March 27th, she sent a letter to the governor essentially asking him to put his money where his mouth is. And she said, listen, if you think that it is, quote, deeply unfair for males to participate in female sports, why does California continue to let boys who, quote, identify as girls use women's bathrooms and locker rooms? There was an allegation that a boy was allowed to sleep in a girls-only overnight accommodation for a school trip. This is crazy stuff. And again, for so long and under the Biden administration, they ignored this. And this Department of Education under Secretary McMahon is not going to let this fly.
Julie, I know that Secretary McMahon is a strong proponent, as is Donald Trump, of school choice. I've been talking about this for decades. There are 13 public high schools in Baltimore, Julie, all located in the inner city. 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Yet you got all the party elites, whether it's Barack Obama or Joe Biden, who put their own kids in private schools, but they oppose school choice for everybody else.
It's ridiculous, Larry. And the Secretary and President Trump, as you indicated, they are two staunch proponents of school choice. And really, this is why those dismal records that you talked about, this is why the president has directed Secretary McMahon to return education to the states and get the bureaucracy out of education. Over the last 45 years, we have spent $3 trillion here at the department. And our NAEP scores, our nation report cards, indicate that we're producing virtually no improvement in reading and math. So something has to change, and it is just so wonderful, Larry, that we have someone like Secretary McMahon who cares so much about our students and our parents leading this department in this mandate.
Well, Donald Trump is a game changer. He's done more in 100 days than a lot of presidents have done in 1 or 2 terms. And this approach to education, he, as you know, wants to shut down the Department of Education. Ronald Reagan ran in 1980 and promised to shut down the then fairly new Department of Education, which began under his predecessor, Jimmy Carter. 8 years later, Julie, when Reagan left, the department was still there and bigger than before. Yes. Well, look, Secretary McMahon is working as hard as she can to make this happen, and this is a project that's not going to be immediate. You know, she has talked about this. The president has talked about this. This is a process that is going to engage governors, state education leaders, and yes, Congress. And so we really look forward here at the department to working with other federal agencies, working, as I said, with governors, and really trying to make this happen for the benefit of our school children. Because again, Larry, what we have been doing is clearly not working. And it's not about the money. We spend more money, I think, than almost any other industrialized country in the world, except maybe Switzerland and Luxembourg. It's not about the money. We have about 15 seconds left. Final comment? I miss you all, and it's great to be on, and thank you so much. Well, Julie, thank you. Julie Hartman, Senior Advisor, Office of Communications and Outreach, Department of Education. Julie, thank you so much. God bless. Thanks, Larry.